I'm going to show you how to program some basics on a Bridgeport with Prototrak. We'll start off by milling the end of a bar into size. We will say this is our bar, and we will call it 0. We will say it's 50 long, and that it's 1 inch wide. It could be any thickness, obviously, 1/4, 1/8, 3/16, whatever it be. We're going to use 3/16 by 1 brass just for the demonstration. So we'll start by obviously clamping this in the vise and overhanging it a bit. So say this is our vise. We're overhanging, say 10 millimeter or so. We will bring the end mill over and we will touch off, and then I will move it up until we are clear on Y. So then the cutting path I start out here, call that 1. So we have clearance. I will wrap it in to, we'll call that 2. So that's 0, 0. We're going to come back. We'll call it 40, and that'll be 3. We're going to go over. I usually go over 0.25 millimeter just for a nice cleanup. And then we're going to go back across our face to here. This will be 4, 5. And then after we make our cleanup pass, we go back home. So our cutting path is going to be safe zone, wrap it in, rough cut across, move in 0.25 for cleanup, go back to Y0, and then go home to our safe zone. The program for this is going to look like our X. I'm going to go -15 just to be safe. Our Y, I typically go about 50. And then we're going to go to 2, which is 0, 0. Then we move back to 3, which in this case our X isn't moving, so we're going to do increment. And our Y is going to go -40. We're going to do X plus 0.25. Y is not moving, we're just going over. And then we're going to go to 0 on Y, X is not moving, so we'll go inc, Y 0, and now we're in position 5, and we're going to go home. So we're going to go back to the -15 plus 50. You can use this program for almost any type of, milling something into size. The only variable would essentially be this 40, which is how far back we are coming. So this one is 1 inch. 40 is going to be more than enough to come back. We could get away with a little less, and we could dial that in after we program it. But if the part was, say, 2 inches wide, we may need to come back 65 millimeter or 70 just to clear. The setup on this is going to be pretty simple. Grab some parallels, make sure they're free of chips, slide them, make sure they're seated right. Stick our part in, we'll let it overhang a bit. This is cut about 1 millimeter oversized, so we will bring it in. We'll bump our part against the stop, make sure it's nice and seated. And that's as simple as the setup is. For the tool, I I prefer carbide. It's just a 1/2 inch coated end mill. Throw it in the collet. Lower the tool down. We're going to run over, adjust the part, move it to where we clear, X0, Y0, lift the part up so we can do a dry run, and we'll start programming. Alright, so now we can see that, so we are going to press mode, edit, erase, yes. So wipe out any program we had in there from before that we won't need anymore. As you can see, I've placed the program that I had sketched up, and that's exactly what we're going to enter. So you'll start by pressing program. We're just going to call this part number 1. Absolute set is enter. And we're going to do milling. X begin, Y begin, so that's going to be our first position, which is the safe zone. It's going to be -15. Enter. And looking at what machine I'm on, I'm actually not going to be able to do the 50. So plus 20. This machine's head is out a lot further, so I actually don't have the 50 millimeter of clearance. So we're going to go 20. X end, Y end is going to be our first position, our first move to our second position, which is going to be 0, 0. We're going to skip over. We're not offsetting the tool. We're running off the edge of it. Skip over. We're going to do a feed rate of 2,000 here. This is a rapid movement. It's not a cutting movement. We're going to press continue to where it'll follow through the rest of the program. And we're going to just call this tool 1. Event number 2 is actually moving 2 to 3 on our program. Our X is not moving, so we're going to press increment. Our Y is going to come back -40, -40. Absolute, enter, enter. Now we're going to do another milling cycle. It's going to go 3 to 4. So this is moving our X over 0.25 millimeter. Enter. Y is not moving, so that's going to be incremented. Enter, enter. Now we're going to go, we're in position. We're going to take our cleanup pass. We're going to go 0.25 millimeter cutting to position 5. Which is going to be incremented on the X. We're just cutting across. Y is going back to 0. So now we're in position 5, and we're going to go home back to our safe point. So we're going to go X -15, enter, Y +20, enter. Continue, no. And then I'm gonna say run a set of 10 of these parts, so we can even go as far as to sub, repeat. It's asking which events we want to repeat. We're gonna repeat 1 through 5, which is the entire program. First event, 1, last event, 5, X offset, Y offset. That would be if we wanted to write the program once and then offset it over incrementally. We don't. We're going to run the same program. So 0 ink, 0 ink. Number of repeats, I was just press 99, enter. So now what's happening is all of the movements after event number 1 are on a 2,000 feed rate. We're going to slow down the cutting passes and then we'll wrap it back up. So we'll go edit, recall, event number 1, just to go back over it. You see 2000, that's fine, that's our rapid movement. We go to 2, 2 is a cutting movement. It's brass, it's easy, we could go 650 easily. You can go a lot faster, a lot slower. Obviously you have to get the feel of it and kind of know what you're doing there. We're moving over, we can keep that at 650. Now this is our cleanup pass, we'll keep that at 650. This is our going home back to our safe zone pass. So press enter to skip down to our feed rate. We're going to press that to 2000. And we are good to go. Now we'll get mode, run, start, go. Okay, so we're ready to go. Press go, rapid, a slower movement coming through 2 to 3. We moved over, we're taking our cleanup pass, and now we're rapiding home. We'll press it again. Everything looked good, we're not crashing into anything, and we're going back to the safe zone. And the only reason I call it the safe zone is so if you want to change parts out, okay, I'll turn it on and let her rip. So we're shooting for 50 here, 50.83. So obviously we could go in, we could offset all of our numbers over to bring this in, or we can offset our 0. We can adjust and move our 0, and then that's going to shift the entire program over to eliminate adding, subtracting, actually changing our program. That way it stays universal to multiple parts. So what I'll do now, start turning 0 and bring it 0.8 millimeter in. I can just re-zero this. And now the entire program is shifted over 0.8 millimeter without having to do any kind of math and keeping the program universal to multiple parts. Right. Pretty dang good. And that is the basics of machining a bar into size. There's one way to do it, hundreds of ways. These are all made up numbers. They're it's a nice safe program, universal. You can run it. You can go as far as to having essentially the same bar, but be a bit longer. You can stick it in, let it overhang a little bit, retouch off your 0 on the end of the new bar, press go, run the exact same program, pull it out, measure it, and then offset your 0 as needed. And this program will be very useful to many kinds of parts.